Welcome to my energy update. And there is ever such a lot of energy to update on today. So much. And I'm just going to dive straight into it because we've just come out of a beauteous weekend of the solstice energy, which is all about celebration, joy, fertility, reaping the harvest and really receiving all of the gifts from your hard work. That's what it is. So if it's looking a bit shady and a bit sticky, trust and know that that's still what's happening and stuff needs to come out on the wash a little bit. So you're still purging, still detoxing, still bringing things to the surface in the light of and the faith and the truth of that your joy is coming up, coming in hot, boof, and it's pushing it out, right? But we are all moving in the same direction. I mean, there was a huge issue with time as well. I don't know whether you felt it, but I felt the solstice energy like there was a timeline collapse or a time loop or something. Because on Saturday, I felt like I was on Groundhog Day. I was having the best time, but it just felt like the whole day, the whole evening lasted for ages. And I kept looking at the clock and it was like time was going backwards. I was like, this is weird. It's like the whole of Saturday evening felt like a week. And I thought that there's this disorientation that goes with that. And I know when there's a big jump going on, that's what it feels like. So the solstice, equinoxes and things like that, I always feel the energy of it, but not quite like this one. This one came in with a huge purge for many and surge for the rest of us, really bringing us into the depths of that joyous June and Hathor. I felt a massive deepening into that and a lot more of a joy state than I've ever felt before. And I felt like it was, my child is now a lot happier within. So we're definitely moving in the right direction. So now I have been literally inundated with guidance from my higher self, from Sekhmet, from Hathor. Before I get into this energy update, I just want to remind you that the temple meeting, the temple gathering on this Thursday, always the last Thursday of the month, okay, 6 p.m. Central Africa time. There is always a recording, so if you miss it, don't worry. It's going to be Hathor and Sekhmet. And Hathor and Sekhmet are coming in together because it's going to be all about how to harness the chaos and the calm. And obviously Sekhmet is the chaos and Hathor is the calm. And that is the tone of this video. We are really coming into union because now the higher self is merging with the human self. And we are now got this merger coming together. And this is why the game is changing exponentially so, because our mindsets are changing and we're understanding our divine reality more than we've ever done. And I'll tell you why. Because I was having a big chat to Sekhmet while I was in a gym session. My husband was saying, you're not doing gym, you're always on your phone. I was like, no, when Sekhmet speaks, we hold the phone, literally. And I was typing. And he was like, you just Instagram when you come to gym. I'm like, I'm actually channeling. So I was like, when Sekhmet speaks, everything stops, right? But this is what she was saying. She was saying the true merger is really, really, really happening. And it's a time to be celebrated. Hence joyous June, hence the solstice. Because she was explaining an altar, right? You go to an altar, right? And you give offerings and prayers and you give your love and you give, you request, what it is that you want out of life. And, and there's a giving and receiving to that altar, right? But we give our offerings, right? And she was saying with the higher self and the human self coming together, she said, you have now become the altar. And I said this a long time ago. We are living, breathing altars. I went into a very deep channel with Hathor, which I'm going to share because it was actually a written channel that she came through very strong. That's going to be the backdrop to another video because it warrants and deserves its own video. But it's about this union I speak of. It's about honoring the physical body. You have to love her into alignment for him or her to be able to come in with the higher self. Because if we're unhappy with how our body is or we're rejecting it in any way, and I've had that all my life, physical body rejection, just like I've had a very difficult relationship with my physical body. She said, well, you're going to get 98.9% downloaded, but you're not going to be able to come into the full merger until you treat yourself as that altar, meaning you start giving your offerings to here. You start thinking about what this needs first before anything else, right? So that's going to be another video, and I'm going to share that channel, in a on the community post. But just talking about the temple classroom, this is what we're going to be working with, harnessing the chaos and the calm. And Hathor and Sekhmet are going to show us all the different ways that we can work with their energies to really embody this whole union that we've got going on, because it's all about living in balance, which is all about being an upholder of ma'at. So I'm very excited for this class this week because they really, really are coming in very strong. And the reason they're coming in very strong, Hathor and Sekhmet, is because we have stepped in very, very strong. So there is a significant shift in where we're at in our place, in our spiritual evolution, let's say, right? So now the joy projects, okay? So I've got a couple of lists here. So we've spoken about union. It's all about the human self and the higher self coming together. The head and the heart is merging, the chaos and the calm, all of those things. So it's happening. Infinity symbol, I've just been seeing that everywhere. But now it's all well and good, kind of understanding what's going on and around. But we also need to discuss how do we make that happen? How do we bring that in so we can kind of land it? Because our human aspects needs to understand how to apply it physically. Otherwise, it's just ether and cosmic chit chat and woo woo and wah wah, right? So how do we bring it in physically? Okay. Joy. How do we bring that joy in physically? Now, I am one to share some experience which I applied, and wisdom can only be wisdom if you've applied the experience and lived by it for a while. So my DJing, and I'm always banging on about it, but I have to say, I was sat there the other day having a quiet moment, and I was like, my life has suddenly, because I've been sharing on the videos, talking you through step by step, the grief walk, the pain, the loss, everything that I've been going through, and many of us have been feeling the same thing. People dying, animals dying, everything dying. Your whole world, as you've known it, has just literally fallen down and away. And I don't think any of us really anticipated just how traumatic and how big that really is, you know what I mean? And what it was going to look like. And I also said transformation is painful. People think that you just wake up and I'm an X-Man, or I'm Agent of Marvel, transformed. And it's not that easy. It's not that easy. You've got to go through some kind of sacrifice, hardship and pain. That's what initiation actually is. And then you come to the good stuff, right? So that is also a massive, massive sign and a telling sign that your higher self is indeed coming in to alignment with your human self, right? It's what happens when we go through this. I have been speaking about it in a certain way, and then I was listening to somebody else talk about it in another way, and they were saying the same thing but differently. And I was like, makes sense, right? Makes sense that our higher self and our human self are coming together, but we have to go through that grief because it's that we're sitting in between. So there's human, there's higher self, and there was our grief. And we had to squash it like a sandwich to be able to come together, because otherwise there's three at this party. I do like threes, but this is not a good three. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's we have to transmute that. So now the joy projects, basically, this is what happens. This is the green shoots in the earth from the seeds you planted. You start to actually give less of a fuck about feeding everybody else and looking after everybody else, because you now know what's up. Because you're like, well, you know what? This gig I've done all my life and lives, propped everybody else up, worried about what everybody else is doing. Do you know what I mean? And basically not stayed in my lane, because if I compare, I'm in despair. So if I'm here, okay, and I'm focusing just on me and my little world, is that okay? This is about receiving. This is a version of receiving. We think it's not okay because we can't possibly give to ourselves. Can't possibly, see to my own needs first, because that would just be selfish, right? No, that's the kicker there right there. That's what we're doing now. So by me having my kids leave and the space being cleared, that's what it took for me to look and go, well, what have you always wanted to do, Marie? I went to DJ Institute's school. I went and studied the DJing, and I did it properly, and music production, which is still needing some work, very complex. But anyway, the mixing, the DJing, it's just changed my life. And I sat here the other day and I thought, everything's taken off. Everything, literally, is the same, but it's different. Why? Because I'm not looking through the eyes of, there's so much work to do. I'm not looking for the eyes of when I get there and we do that, then we'll be okay. Separation. I'm not looking for stuff I've already got. I'm not looking to be something I already am. Okay. I'm already it. And that's the difference. And that is what this is. That's what illusion is. You see things in an illusionary way. The truth is everything that you want, you have. Everything that you are, you've already become. It's all in here. So this is the whole thing. There's nothing really for us to do. It's just everything for us to just believe, right? So now with the music, I've just tapped into that. Music makes me cry. When I'm mixing a banging Afro set and there's some tracks that go, I just cry. Not because I'm unhappy, my heart is just so open. So it's a bucket list thing, isn't it? But you don't wait until you're about to die to do any of these things. You can do it now. Now, I know you're going to sit there and go, well, I've got a busy day and I've got a busy life and I've got kids to look after and all that kind of thing. Ain't nothing stopping you from getting some felt tip pens and going to colour some mandalas. I used to do that all the time. I've actually got a book downstairs that I love colouring in and just going into my own world. It's all about me. It's no one else. And it's the same that DJing gives to me. When I'm mixing, I'm just like, I'm in my own world and I just love it. And I come out elated. And then I go and listen to my own mixes and I'm just like, so happy. Go and dance in your underwear like nobody's watching, because nobody is, and flick a hoof. Go mad. Just like, get your wild woman, your wild man on and just do your thing. Tell me how you feel after that. Tell me how you feel after that, right? So I want you to go and find your passion project. This is very Sekhmet. I want you to find your joy, okay? Not because your kids like doing it, you'll find joy in it, or not because husband likes to do it that you'll go and play a game of golf with him, because I wouldn't do that. My husband loves golf. Can't stand it. Do you know what I mean? Just like not doing that. What is for you and you only? Find it, run with it, do it. It's really that simple. And this point of the game, it's about choosing joy without any agenda, creating without any agenda, and just doing what you love. So only you can decide on that, and only you can choose it, and only you can do it. So that is vibrational match. As soon as you feel that joy, that's why my life has completely changed, and everything is literally coming to me. Like everything. I go to my email, I haven't even launched half the stuff that's in here, yet people are reaching out to me saying, are you going to be doing this? And I'm like, are they in my mind? What? Do you know what I mean? And that is, I'm in awe of it, and I'm pretty used to magic, like quite a lot, but it's just like, even I'm like, whoa. So the golden key to that, Gospel of Marie, finding your joy in something that just makes you happy, period. It's not even that complicated, right? So that's your homework, right? Flipping the page, because I have lots of notes, lots of energy to update on. Right, so the last one that I wanted to share with you, which tells me we've shifted, okay? It's happening. It's here. It's here. It's going on. So I went to a bookshop the other day on the weekend over the solstice, right? Go figure. And I walked in, I went to Mind, Body, Spirit, and I looked at all of the stuff on the shelf, and I was like, yeah, go in and have a look at the books. And I saw a book that was written by a woman who's a female shaman, a shamanka. She does breath work. She does all the stuff that I do. And I was like, oh, that looks like an interesting book. And I literally opened it. No shade on her or anyone. Just opened it, and I was like, oh, boring. Put it back on the shelf. And without even thinking, I felt that. Walked around to the other side and I found myself at the psychology part, picking up a book with a raccoon on the front, and it was about creativity and curiosity, and it was very business orientated, and they were saying no business is successful unless they have creativity and curiosity promoted within their workforce and all that kind of stuff. I would never have looked at books like that. I'm like, business, blah. Do you know what I mean? That's so boring. Whoa. Do you know what I mean? And I found myself like diving out of the shaman thing and going into that. And then I heard this massive voice. It was really resounding. And they just said, you've shifted. The only reason that those past life stories and everything like that are there were for tools for you to bridge your pathway back to self, to remember who you are. But once you've remembered who you are, you've got a pretty good idea of that. Once you're there, what are you going to do? You've got to live a life of joy now. And I think that that's where my DJing came into my space. So what is coming up for you where it's saying, hey, pick me. Maybe it is golf. Maybe you've always wanted to play golf. Go and do it. You know what I mean? Just like unapologetically just go and do it, right? Because that is the final thing that's going to push us over the threshold. It's the final thing, because you can't keep walking the bridge backwards and forwards in past life, understanding who you were. When you're going to get the memo, you're that person. Yeah, okay, we got the memo now. We know we're the ancient one. All of those versions of you are here and it's embodied. So what now? So anything beyond this space is for sweets and gravy, for joy. So if we go to Egypt, we go to Egypt because we're just going to go and find out some stuff, dive into spirituality and the historical, interesting stories of spiritual Egypt. Going to go and do ceremonies, cacao. Do we need to go there and fix ourselves? Or do we just drink some cacao and do some cool journeys? Dance, we got to change it. So it's not necessarily about throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying ceremonies are bad and things like that. But this incessant need to actually fix yourselves when you're already that person that you're searching for. This is union. Seek out there. She or he will never find. Go within here, listen to your own voice and come in here. Joy. That pathway to pain can't last forever. It's got to turn into power at some point. Do you know what I mean? But that depends on you. So that's what happened. So I found myself, which I love all those spiritual books. I actually bought that book. And I was like, and I heard a voice saying, you've landed. You've landed. There's nothing else. There's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go. Now it's just about joy and enjoying. And then like on the solstice, I bumped into a friend. She's like, oh, did you do a really nice ceremony with lots of cool people and everything like that? And I was like, no. I actually just went off. I went off with my husband and just like we went off downtown and just like, I don't know, messed around like a couple of kids and just had a great weekend. And it was just really joyous and expansive. And I took the pressure of got to meditate in the morning because I'm the altar now. So at the end of the day, what am I giving to my altar? Joy. I'm actually enjoying my life. I'm living. That's the difference. That's the shift. So I've written here, now you are enough. What now? You know what I mean? Like, when will it all be over? But if you know that you're enough, then take the pressure off trying. So stop trying to be someone that you already are. Stop trying to achieve that which you've already achieved. It's already in you. It's yours. Done. Finished. Done. It's very rarely I go quiet on my videos. Crickets. but that's kind of like where we're at. So that's my share for today. Those are like several points, things that have happened in the last few days that have significantly, undeniably told me that we've shifted. Because now I'm just all about joy, man. So your biggest shift is that passion project. So go away, have a look at that, report back, and tell me what you know to be different. Because let me tell you, that has been the golden key. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in Temple on Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Africa time. I have put up a post in the community post, so your link is there if you haven't got it already. If you already have the link, it's reoccurring. You just got to knock on the temple door and come in. You know, don't even have to do that, actually. Just walk in. So, harnessing the chaos and the calm. Me, Sekhmet, and Hathor will await you on Thursday. As always, peace.